he just didn't quite know how to sort of respond in that way, other than to get extremely angry, extremely thin-skinned.
Just last night in the Times, there were questions over whether a 5 million gift from a cryptocurrency billionaire, Christopher Harborne, was actually connected to Nigel Farage's return to frontline politics after he admitted that a possible comeback had been discussed before the payment was made. So these are quite troubling stories for Farage. And it's not just Farage. So elsewhere in reform, Robert Jenrick is being investigated by the police for a donation given to his leadership campaign when he was a Tory still, when he was trying to be leader of the Conservative Party in 2024, because it originated overseas, which is something banned under electoral law. So reform is not the happiest of ships at the moment. We're going to speak to Neil Breakwell, who is the executive producer of Reform Ready to Rule, which is a documentary that tracks the rise of reform. And he's had some quite amazing access in the process of making that. So, Neil, how are you?
Hi, Josh. Good afternoon. Good.
Great. Well, look, it's an interesting moment for reform watchers then. So what do you make of this, the Clacton gambit, as we're calling it? You know, Farage resigns as an MP, triggers this by-election. Has it backfired, or are the other parties neglecting their democratic duty by not running opponents to Farage, as he claims?
Well, I think what it speaks to is that Farage only knows and only enjoys one space to be in, which is with momentum, however he sees to form that. When we started making the documentary back in the summer last year, they were riding high in the polls. The other parties had sort of frankly left the field. So there's this sort of space where they're having those weekly press conferences. And that's when they're in their happy space, right? So he's happy when he's on the attack. But when he's notably, visibly unhappy, almost incredulous to be asked about these questions of probity about his own behaviours, it is when he's in defence. He just doesn't really know how to operate that. In the course we were doing the doc, it occurred, if you recall, back in the autumn, and those sort of, some of them resurfaced, some new accusations of his anti-Semitism remarks he might have said as a teenager. And he just didn't quite know how to sort of respond in that way, other than to get extremely angry, extremely thin-skinned. And so when they don't have the momentum, when it's not going swimming their way, and he doesn't know how to engage with the media when having to answer questions about himself, I think he turns to anything that feels like some ownership, some agency over the story. And I suspect that's what's happening in Clacton. Whether he calculated that he was able to sort of put the optics of him against the establishment when potentially the outcome will be him versus a bin is hard to know.
So I just want to emphasise that it was obviously a private gift from Harborne that he received before he became an MP, which is obviously important here. But you're very right, Neil, to point out this issue of Farage, the happy warrior, which is the hail fellow well met, pint in hand, fag in the other. And there is a sort of rambunctious charm to Farage, even if you don't agree with his politics. It can be quite irresistible at times. But we are seeing a different Farage now, and it's led to sort of speculation that he's not enjoying it anymore. You know, he's not a young man. He's obviously lived quite a rough and tumble life. I mean, do you get the sense from having watched it close up that there is this line people keep repeating, he doesn't really want to be Prime Minister? I don't think it's quite as simple as that myself. But what do you make of this idea that he's just running out of steam, and now that this very heavy scrutiny is coming his way, that he may not be up for the long fight ahead?
It's possible. He clearly, the fact he's come back so many times shows an irrepressible need to be in some form of political limelight. And I think he does have a genuine mission to put reform in power through some means. I just think he's only interested in doing it in his way, and has, as I say, a sort of incredulous attitude to the scrutiny that comes from the closer he gets to number 10. But I mean, one of the interesting lines he said to us in one answer, he said, in answer to kind of, what do you not like about being leader? He said, the thing I really can't stand about being the leader is when someone in the party, he was referring mostly to councillors who sometimes have that unhappy frequency of saying something a bit racist or a bit dodgy. He says, they say something stupid overnight. I wake up and I'm responsible. He seems to really begrudge some of the responsibilities that comes with leadership, certainly amongst others in his party. But it's also true he does the same for himself too. He finds it an affront that he has to answer questions about what he considers to be purely personal matters, even though clearly there's a demonstrable reason why it's in some level of public interest to know what funds, what donations, what gifts come from what individuals for someone seeking to be prime minister. So I think he just finds those bits of the role of leadership which aren't just attack. He's great at attack. We see it all the time. He is appalling politically in defence, and that's why he looks to regain some sort of momentum with this by-election. But as I say, whether it is the one he was imagining to come to pass, I'm not sure.
Well, it's not looking so at the moment. As they say in American football, it's defence that wins Super Bowls. Thank you, Neil Breakwell, for joining us. It's Neil Breakwell, who's the executive producer of Reform Ready to Rule, which I think will be a very interesting documentary.
I've done nothing wrong. I've thought about it hard, and I've decided today I will resign as a Member of Parliament for Clacton-on-Sea, thereby forcing a by-election, which should happen, I hope, in short order. No, I've decided that the people of Clacton should be the judges of my actions. This will be a people versus the establishment by-election. It's a chance to stick two fingers up to the entire establishment, to frankly tell them where to go. And that is why I will be putting my name forward to stand in this by-election. I will fight to win. I will fight to continue the political revolution that Reform has started. And I would say this to you, the voters of Clacton: if I win, you win. Because if I lose, they win. And we will never, with the two old parties, get the type of fundamental change that we need to fix broken Britain. I will not tolerate intimidation of my family. I will not tolerate the location of where they live being revealed. I will not tolerate any of my family being endangered because of what I choose to do in public life. So yes, you can ask, am I angry? But I've never been angrier in my life. It seems to me that the establishment have now decided that they can't beat us fairly, so they've chosen to use foul means. Let me be absolutely clear. After the furore and the media pile-on, well, not just the media, the other political parties too, let me be absolutely clear. I have done nothing wrong. I have not broken the law in any way at all. I have not misused public money. And you know, for the first 2 years of being an MP, my personal MP expenses are zero. Not, of course, that you'll read about that in mainstream media. We've been subject in the last few months to the use of illegally obtained information, firm evidence of computer hacking, and now leaks from government agencies. And this is all, of course, a great distraction, because we're about to get a Prime Minister who's coming in with no mandate whatsoever. He didn't even stand on the 2024 manifesto. This country needs a general election, even if Labour, the Conservatives and the media don't want it.